we stand together, we'll never fall.
Hello everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever the case may be, wherever you are. Welcome back to another episode of the All Around Growth Podcast. My name is Rob Kaiser and I am your host. Ooh, the truck is feeling a little old this morning, just like many of us, I'm sure. And today we are hitting the road for episode number 7 of season 5 of the show. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about this past weekend's Freedom Cell event. Over the past few months, we have been having Freedom Cell Network events here locally, and they have been going quite well. We had one in November at our friend Caleb's house. And for the past 3 months, December, January, and February, we have met locally at a facility owned by the volunteer organization of which I am a part of, Medina Oddfellows. Feel free to check out some of the things that we do at medinaoddfellows.org, and you can learn more about who we are and why we do what we do there. But we have a nice building, a historic building that was built in 1904, and we've had the opportunity to use those facilities. And guys, for whatever it's worth, if you like what you see there and you feel that those are worthy causes that we contribute to, feel free to make a small donation. There is now an option to do so on that site, and any support that you can give us and the community that we support is greatly appreciated. So feel free to do that as well. Before we get too much into things this morning, I'd like to give a big shout out to our Patreon listeners. Many thanks to Wayne, Sean, Rachel, Kiriki, and Brian for helping me do what I do, helping financially support the show that you guys have come to know and appreciate, and quite frankly, inspire me to keep doing some of the things that I'm doing, including but not limited to the show when I question why I do what I do. And also, I'd like to welcome some of the new listeners who I will actually give a shout out to later in the show. That's right, Andrea, I'm talking to you. And for all of you listening, you will have to see why I'm going to give her a big shout out, because she has done some cool things for the Freedom Cell Network that I am going to talk about. And actually, I might as well do that now, because some of you guys who are tuning in that may not have heard some of the past episodes may be wondering what the Freedom Cell Network is. Well, luckily, I have a very cool flyer that she was kind enough to have printed out from one of her friends who owns and operates a printing company. And she brought, I don't know how many thousands of them to the group, and everybody was able to take some home. I have the box, and I bring them to all events and encourage people to take them, to disseminate them and share them, because some people find the name Freedom Cell Network a little off-putting for some reason, and I can understand that, and we might even get into that a little bit today. But the Freedom Cell Network is basically an organization that encourages and facilitates meaningful change powered by you. Freedom Cells are local peer-to-peer groups, typically consisting of 8 people. Cell members organize themselves in a decentralized manner with the goal of empowering group members through education, peaceful non-compliance, and the creation of parallel institutions. Think of it as your activist support network. Why do we need them? We are being isolated from our community by authoritarian law, invasive technology, and divisive culture. Tyranny and technocracy are on the rise. A local support network has never been more important for our health, liberty, and success. And you can get involved in the Freedom Cell Network by registering on the site freedomcells.org, creating your profile and connecting with others in your area. And also begin creating your own cells. There is a claim made that they will never sell or give out your information. The principles of the Freedom Cell Network are quite simple. Cells and participants remain aligned with the Freedom Cell Network so long as they act in adherence with the 5 following principles. Keep these in mind when organizing your cells in the real world, as well as on the website when making posts, creating cells, and organizing events. They also have a little disclaimer here that says we reserve the right to remove or disconnect cells from our network that do not align with these principles. And those principles are that Freedom Cell Network is decentralized. The Freedom Cell Network is decentralized, horizontally organized, and operates through voluntary association. No one person or group has authority over another. This allows the knowledge and decision-making of the group to be diffused among group members. Cells should not be dependent on 1 or 2 people to function. The Freedom Cell Network is also local and promotes that as one of the 5 principles. Freedom Cell Network is international in scale, with cells in many countries around the world. The most important presence of Freedom Cells is at the local level, where members build community relationships and work together toward common goals. Local connections are the most direct source for collaboration and assistance. Freedom Cell Network is also solutions focused, number 3 of the principles that they are aligned with. Our mantra is assume everyone knows the problems, focus on the solutions. This website and the network in general are not meant to be places to discuss the latest conspiracy theory or to obsess over what they are doing. We only have a limited amount of time and energy. Let's use that time to take action. Freedom Cell Network is also non-violent. The Freedom Cell Network does not condone, support, or endorse the initiation of violence against individuals, government officials, or corporations. We are a peaceful movement focused on creating, not destroying. We are for building new institutions and parallel systems, not violent revolution. Freedom Cell Network does, however, support all individuals' right to self-defense. And last but not least, the Freedom Cell Network is apolitical. It is focused on building, not voting, lobbying, or politicking. Politics is not the solution to our current problems, and we are not waiting around for politicians to make the world a better place. We are taking responsibility for ourselves and our community by working together to create the parallel systems needed to secure our freedom. To be clear, the promotion of political candidates or issues is not welcome on the Freedom Cell website or within the network. And you can learn more at freedomcells.org and the podcast livefreenow.show, which is a podcast by John Bush. So let's talk a little bit about Saturday night. Before we do that, to provide a little bit of context, what we have done, because this also came up Saturday night, is why have we done the things that we've done? Well, in November, for the very first meetup event that we had, we decided that we would simply have a meet and greet and give everybody an opportunity to connect with people who were interested in the Freedom Cell Network and wanted to learn more about the Freedom Cell Network. So what we... Guys, I'm sorry about that. If there was some questionable audio, I didn't realize that my microphone was smashed inside me, so bear with me for any disturbances that have occurred up to this point. The microphone was smashed underneath the seatbelt. Hopefully that's a little bit better. And if it is, then thank you for sticking with me during the first 10 minutes. But anyways, like I was saying, our first meetup in November gave us all an opportunity to meet with Freedom Cell, anybody interested in the Freedom Cell network. And in December and January, we decided, and this was largely based on surveys that were done with group members who responded. Being the organizer, I tried to get input from as many people as possible in a secure and private way, because there are certain individuals that are participating in the group who are hyper-focused on security, privacy, and keeping all of the things that we talk about away from prying eyes with nefarious purposes. That's right. It's those three-letter agencies that are out there that I'm talking about. So all of you guys out there that are listening right now that are feds, don't listen to this. This isn't for you. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, the feedback that was given was that we should maybe do some little presentations on various skills or things that are related to the Freedom Cell Network. And anybody who had something that they wanted to present on was welcome to do so. Give a little 10 to 15 minute presentation followed by a Q&A session afterwards. And for the first one in December, our fellow Patreon member Kiriki gave a small presentation on bicycle maintenance and tools that you can keep with you on the go to address any issues you may have while on the road cycling. Our friend in the community, Yoshik, did something on knife sharpening. Caleb out there did something on the practical application of knots and how to use them, simple knots that you can learn, simple knots that you can use. And Jennifer did something on canning and food preservation, where she discussed and did some demonstrations on the various types of canning food: steam canning, water bath canning, and pressure canning. We followed a similar framework for the meeting in January, and we discussed, we broke it down to 3 topics since the meeting in December went long. Some people had to leave early, so we went with 3. And we did first aid, firearms, basic firearms principles, safety, point of use principles, things like that. A discussion on that. We had a big comprehensive presentation on first aid kits, IFAKs, individual first aid kits that Caleb did. And then I did one on building community, and both inside and outside the Freedom Cell Network. So what, and all of that was good. But for February, what I decided to do as the primary organizer of this was that it's time to talk about your journey and your inner cadre. And what are you doing? So Saturday night was our opportunity to collectively get together and talk about the various things that we've done to build up and establish our own inner cadre. And when I say inner cadre, what I mean is the whole principle within the Freedom Cell Network is to establish a group of 8 people local to you with common goals, right? And then work towards achieving them. So your Inner Cadre can serve as a little group of accountability partners where we all help each other work towards a common goal. Simple things like they could be homeschooling, they could be common goals working towards food preparedness, making sure you have 3 weeks of food, working towards 1 month of food, 3 months of food. It could be working towards, collectively getting out of debt and supporting one another in that way. It could be working, whatever your goals are. If you wanted to connect with other people, maintaining this freedom-oriented mindset and focus on physical health and well-being, then you could support each other in that way. Whatever the case may be, it's working together locally with 8 people together, 7 other people, which makes 8 including yourself, to form what's called an Inner Cadre. That group of 8 connects with other groups, 8 other groups, specifically of 8, for a total of 64 people approximately, and that is what is referred to as a middle cadre. 8 middle cadres of 64 people puts you around 500 people, and that is a network. And multiple networks similar to that operating throughout the country and throughout the world creates a larger decentralized network that is formed around the principles of individual freedom and liberty, right? So pretty simple, but not necessarily easy. Because what happens is a lot of times at these groups, we forget about one of the principles that is solutions focused. Let me reread that again. Our mantra is assume everyone knows the problems, focus on the solutions. This website and the network in general are not meant to be places to discuss the latest conspiracy theory or to obsess over what they are doing. We only have a limited amount of time and energy. Let's use that time to take action. And that premise is what my particular and personal focus was for this meeting on Saturday. Okay? What are you doing with your Inner Cadre? How are you doing it? And what challenges are you running into? What can we learn from each other? How can we approach new people? Like, basically, that's it. Share your experience, share your challenges. Let's learn from one another and figure out what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what we can do better. That is the gist of that was the gist of the meeting. And we did that, and overall, it was a productive use of time. So I might as well take some time here and now to share with you about what I've been doing and how I've been doing it. I have reached out to people that I've met over the past few months, and some of the people that I've connected with over the past few months I've actually known for years, and some of them are family members, okay, who I've known my entire life. But the people that aren't family members, some of them I've known for years, and recent activities within the Freedom Cell Network have created an opportunity to deepen and cultivate connections that were initially formed years ago. And the Freedom Cell Network meetings of late have also provided an opportunity to establish new connections with people who I haven't met and learn about other networks that have similar interests and goals. Okay? So of the people that I've met over the past few months, I've reached out to some of them, including certain family members who were also in attendance at some of these events, and communicated. And I've also reached out to some people who are aware of what we've been doing with the Freedom Cell Network, but have been unable to make it to any events, and communicated to about a dozen people my interest in forming a little inner cadre, how I'm looking at it as an accountability group, and looking at, like how we're going to go about doing things. And initially, it's not all local. My ideal vision of an inner cadre is to have people within 10 miles of me, 7 other people within 10 miles of me that all have that where we get together and talk about common goals and interests and work towards solutions to accomplishing those goals and prioritizing what it is that we feel we need to collectively do to grow stronger and be able to support one another in times of need. And I'm talking about very basic things. I'm not talking about zombie hordes marching or, complete grid down scenarios. I'm talking about what you can do when your mother, like what we can do when your mother-in-law breaks her ankle and is not able to get around the house easily, and you're the primary breadwinner for the family, but if something happens to you and you get hurt, but also are responsible for taking care of someone else, well, how can we chip in and support you? Right? Simple things. How do we help one another? And how do we provide for one another? How do we take care of our own community? We start with a small community and we begin there. Inner cadre, middle cadre, meta cadre, right? But since I've personally been challenged with finding people local to me that are actually interested in taking action on this, I've reached out to people as far away up into the Cleveland area, down into Worcester, which is south of us, and out into Summit and Stark counties to the east and southeast of us here in Medina County. And initially, I think that we can begin working towards these shared solutions and discussing our shared interests online via Zoom calls or Google Meet or whatever. Those are the two platforms that I'm most familiar with using. Yes, there are others, but quite frankly, I'm just not interested in learning any newer technology at this time. I wish everybody would jump on Telegram. Not everybody's interested in learning how to navigate new apps. We've had a lot of people from the groups recently join Telegram, and that's been awesome. If you want to check Telegram out and you're listening to this but have yet to do so, then begin with t.me/allaroundgrowth. That will connect you with listeners in the audience, people that listen to this show, and you can learn how to navigate within Telegram and also begin to learn about other groups that are out there. For example, the Medina County Freedom Cell Network group, the State of Ohio Meta Cadre Telegram group. So the whole idea of the Telegram group for Medina County is that middle cadre concept, where hopefully many of the members in that group are actively working towards forming their own inner cadre and utilizing the Telegram group, the Medina County Middle Cadre Telegram group, to communicate what they're doing, why, and how, so that we can all learn and grow our own middle cadres and inner cadres. And that reminds me, maybe that's something worth pointing out to people so that we can stay solutions focused, decentralized, and local, and really re-emphasize these 5 core principles to the Freedom Cell Network. Because, quite frankly, there are a few of us out there who are really hung up on certain aspects of the socio-political sphere that are not really relevant. They're hung up on politics. They're hung up on the fact that they're watching us and they're monitoring us, and we're going to get put on a list and they're going to come get us. And it's tiresome to have those conversations, because at the end of the day, guys, if you're driving a newer car that's equipped with electronics and navigation systems, specifically a car with a screen that interfaces with your phone, then it's already happening. And quite frankly, if you have a smartphone, it's already happening. And what's most interesting about this is a lot of these people who are talking about these particular situations are people who actively have accounts from one of the two of the 3 big data collecting agencies, Microsoft and Google. They're using a Microsoft oriented email account, or they're using a Gmail account. And if you're really that concerned and afraid of the tracking and monitoring that's taking place, then why are you using the very thing that you fear so much? It just doesn't make sense. So we can just acknowledge that, yes, these things are happening. Yes, these people are tracking us and monitoring us, but it's important to understand why. And in my humble opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, I reserve the right to be wrong in everything that I say, but I've talked about this before in the past, and I also believe that most of the objective as to why we are being tracked the way that we are being tracked and monitored is for targeted advertising. Okay? Targeted advertising. Whoever they are, need us to buy things that we don't need to impress people we don't like, and so on and so on. All right, I'm referencing Fight Club, that line in the movie. It's all in the name of consumption, not capitalism, but consumption. And enough about that. So, we fear the things that we don't understand. It's fear of the unknown. And I understand that fear and pain drives us to do the things that we do, but fear also prevents us from doing a lot of things that we can and should do. We get stuck in analysis paralysis, trying to, find solutions to things that I don't want to say they don't matter, but we could be working on finding solutions to other things. And that is what I'm interested in doing with my own inner cadre is, yes, talking about all of these things, but then prioritizing them in terms of what is it that we need to focus on the most. Like, for example, I mentioned that I'm on the road today, okay? What am I doing on the road? Well, I'm going to pick up half a pallet of jars and some other supplies for the business that I run, which is Natural Ferments. So, on that, real quick plug to my own business, naturalferments.com. Check it out. We are a small business operating in fermented foods. It's a new business that was established last year, and it is a business that was formed from a split, if you will, based on the growth and development of York Meadow Farm, and I wrote a blog post about that recently. and which you can learn about at yorkmeadowfarm.com. While you're there, subscribe to the newsletter. Stay tuned for additional updates because the launch of the new logo is coming soon. I need to get caught up on some product. I need to prepare for market. There's a lot of things that I need to do, but I'm behind on social media. I'm behind on the blog post. I'm behind on a lot of things because in addition to running a business and trying to help out around the homestead and doing some volunteer work in the community and organizing Freedom Cell events and, working with and spending time at substance abuse and mental health treatment facilities. Like I'm a pretty busy guy. So, there's a lot that I wish I could do more of, but there's only so many hours in the day. And on top of that, I try to have fun from time to time. Okay. Like I try to play some music. I try to enjoy life because if all we do is work, then we're not really, it's an easy path to burnout. So yeah, like I said, there's a lot going on, and I'm doing the best I can. So where do we go from here? A lot of people throughout the course of the conversation and their own dialogue, which was limited to timers, which kind of worked. It worked well enough to shut some of the ramblers down, including myself. But a lot of people during their talks about what they were doing, and big shout out to everybody that attended. Almost everybody who was in attendance is actively taking steps to build their inner cadre and reach out to new people. And there was a lot of dialogue about how we can do that and how we can do things differently. And it was awesome. So, big props to everybody who has been in attendance or who was in attendance on Saturday, because you guys are actively working to build your own networks. And that's awesome. I love to see it. Quite frankly, I was not expecting it. I was expecting more people to say, well, I haven't really done anything. I'm challenged with finding people. Haven't really reached out. But no, most people did mention that they are actively doing things. And when challenges came up about, how do I find new people to connect with, there was a lot of good crosstalk taking place about different ways that could be employed in order to meet new people at different places and subtly drop the idea about the Freedom Cell Network without explicitly saying Freedom Cell Network. So it was a very good and productive discussion. But some of the people talked about, well, what are we going to do next month? And I said, yeah, speaking about next month, I'm out. Like, I'm not going to organize it because I'm going to focus on working with my own inner cadre. And, quickly followed up by saying, that's not to say that I'm done, working and helping at this level, but I need help. So if we want to do something next month, like, we can use this space, we can use this building, but somebody's got to take the lead in coordinating the efforts to do so and give me a date and, and do that. So luckily, we did have somebody reach out to me immediately afterwards and say, I'm interested. So I'm going to share the contact information with him and see what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. I've got mad respect for the guy that wants to step up and sort of move things forward in that way. And I'm very excited to see what he does, and I look forward to helping out however I can. But yeah, over the next month, I want to continue moving forward and taking action on this. I also said that I kind of want to remove myself from the active coordination of these Medina County Freedom Cell network meetings, the middle cadre aspect of it, because I'm still working on my inner cadre, right? And at the end of the day, this is a decentralized, one of the 5 principles is decentralization. It's a decentralized, horizontally organized network that operates through voluntary association. And if people aren't going to voluntarily step up and work to collaborate with others, then the network at this level is going to slowly fade away. I also made a point to mention that we had 40 people in November show up expressing interest in what we're doing. We had not significantly, but we had less people in December. We had even less people in January. And on Saturday night, we only had about 15 people show up. So, based on other experiences with, coordinating activities and doing volunteer work within the community, this is a common trend. A lot of people want to be involved with something bigger than themselves, but not many people want to take the lead in organizing that thing which is bigger than themselves and contributing to the growth and development of it. And a lot of people who get involved with things like this, especially things specific to specifically the Freedom Cell Network, want to use it as an outlet to talk about the problems. And that is not what we do. Like I said, this is solutions focused. This is the 3rd time I've reiterated the fact that everyone knows the problems, focus on the solutions. There's a lot of talk about, conspiracies and the World Economic Forum and the Great Reset and information gathering, tracking, and all of that, and all the bad things that they are doing. It's not to say that we all know this. Some people are more educated in it than others, but this is not the place to talk about that, right? Like, shout out to Joe out there who's like, yeah, dude, this is happening. Check out this thing called Meshtastic. It's a way to communicate encrypted messages in a way that is not dependent on the internet. And it's a pretty cool thing that he's actively exploring, and it doesn't seem like a very expensive way to get involved in communications with people, and it's a pretty cool thing. So I'll try to link to all of this and some of the things that I've mentioned in the show notes, and I'll also link to some of the resources that we have shared amongst ourselves in prior emails, so that if any of this sounds interesting to you, you can start taking action and build your own community. There was and several of the things that I'll link to. One, which is most recently, was an interview that Jack Spirko did with John Bush, the founder of the Freedom Cell Network, and they talked a lot, this was last week actually, about the Freedom Cell Network. And there's something taking place right now called the Freedom Cell Challenge, that are calls and webinars, I guess you could say, where John and maybe some other people are talking about how to grow your networks. Hopefully I will be able to catch some of those this week. I did sign up for it, but it's difficult for me to break away for an hour midday when, especially this week, when I'm trying to get caught up on product not only the manufacturing of it, but the packing of it, getting online orders assembled, shipped out, preparing for a farmer's market, all the while trying to build up inventory for the upcoming retail orders that are likely to hit within the next couple of weeks. So, you know, it's a lot, and I also feel comfortable about what I'm doing individually to build my own inner cadre. So, like I said, we are in the infancy of building a small community, a small inner cadre that is decentralized, that is solutions focused, that is nonviolent, that is apolitical. But at this point, we're not quite as local as we could be. The idea is that as we continue to grow our own local networks, as we continue to grow this network, people that aren't local to me will branch out and form their own local networks. And by that time, the people that aren't local, which is about half of them, right? So let's just say I reached out to 12 people, 6 of whom aren't local, and at that point in time, if those 6 people then form their own networks of 8, then collectively we've established a middle cadre of trusted people, of about 50 people that we can count on when things happen, and not collectively, right? Not when the economy collapses and, you know, supply chains dissolve and the zombie hordes start marching, but no, when, you know, next door Johnny loses his job, breaks his leg, and they're having trouble feeding their kids, that we can all collectively come together and bring him over some crock-pot dishes, some casseroles, and some things like that, so that they can stay comfortable while he heals and gets ready to get back to it, because he's having a hard time right now. Right? So this is the point, because if I'm already working with you, but you're not quite local to me, and then you go out and establish your own group of 8, chances are it's highly likely that because I trust you, I'm going to be able to more easily trust the 7 other people that you connect with, which means we've got a pretty solid network established of trustworthy people that we can depend on when times get tough. And even if times don't get tough, then we've got a trustworthy, established network of people that we can all communicate with and learn from and grow. Like, you know, for example, right now, you know, secure encrypted communications is not something that is on the top of my priority list in terms of simple basic preparations. Tactical firearms training is not high on my list of priorities to focus on. You know, what is on my list of things to prioritize on, or to what is a priority on my list of things to focus on, is having a preparedness kit in my car with jumper cables, a patch kit, you know, some extra clothing, gloves, you know, things that I can have on me to help. You know, basic first aid kit, like the IFAC kit, the individual first aid kit that Caleb presented and demonstrated, and we actually raffled off at our last meeting. We sold enough tickets and raised enough money that we were able to give away a first aid kit that had over $200 worth of materials, tourniquets, gauze, bandages, supplies, all kinds of things, and we were able to raffle one of those off, and Tim won that. So, we're actually doing some good, cool things. We did another 50-50 raffle this past weekend. The winner of that took $20 for some gas money, threw the rest back into the pot, and we are building up a little bit of a fund so that we can establish a dedicated website to Medina Freedom Cells. We've got the domain name medinafreedomcells.org. If you go to medinafreedomcells.org right now, it redirects to the event pages where you can RSVP to events in the past. But all of that is basically a branch of our own website at yorkmeadowfarm.com. It's not ideal, but it was the best that I could do with the resources and time that I have, and time is a resource. So, we had 2 people who are relatively tech savvy. Big shout out to Todd and Joe, who are going to work in conjunction with me to build and develop a website dedicated to the Medina County Freedom Cell Network. And it's exciting. It's exciting to see where this is going to go, and it's exciting to see what the future has in store. So at any rate, guys, that's kind of about it. I've been going for a long time. I've got another 10 minutes ahead of me before I get to pipeline packaging, and this may not have been the highest quality episode today, especially the first 10 minutes because of the microphone placement and the seatbelt. So again, my apologies for that. But for those of you who did tune in and stuck with me for the duration of the episode, I very much appreciate it. And I thank you. I thank you for listening to the show. I thank you for the feedback that you give me. It's encouraging to hear. I don't do a very good job of promoting the show. Our listener base isn't huge because I don't talk about any one thing with specificity. Historically, I've talked about 7 different... Historically, I talked about a lot of things trying to find my voice. In the early days, we would talk about trending Twitter Tuesdays, motivational Mondays. We would do listener feedback things, and then it sort of shifted gears in the 200 episodes where we were talking about the 7 aspects of life: financial, physical, personal development, family, spiritual, social, and career. 7 aspects of life, and those things came from a goal setting guide, which I'll link to in the show notes as well. And all of that was inspired by Dan Miller, rest in peace, who recently passed away from pancreatic cancer. Again, just a stark reminder of how short this life is and what we need to do to live the best life possible. And the Freedom Cell Network is one thing that provides a framework and structure for us to do that in order to achieve a goal that many of us have, which is, increased freedom and liberty in our own lives. So, again, thank you for listening. Thank you for the support, especially all of you guys on Patreon. You guys and the support that you provide with your subscriptions to the show make it financially viable for me. And right now, as I continue to grow this business and put damn near every dollar that I make back into the business to grow it, it is extremely helpful that $3 a month, $5 a month, or $7 a month It means more than you know, and I am eternally grateful for that. If you guys like the work that I do and you want to support the show, I would definitely encourage you to consider doing that, and you can do so at patreon.com/allaroundgrowth. And support at the level that you feel comfortable with is incredibly appreciated. Even if you don't want to support the show financially, if you want to go ahead and give a 5-star review, that would be awesome. Don't really know what else to say other than thank you. And join us on Telegram at t.me/allaroundgrowth, where you can get a little behind the scenes action, cultivate some deeper connections with those of you who listen to the show, and learn more about our community here and what other people have to say about the Freedom Cell Network. So with that, guys, I'm going to wrap it up and just again say thank you. I hope that you have a great day and a great week ahead. This is Rob Kaiser. God bless.
In a world of pain, what can I do? The needs are many and answers are few. People turn away and I wonder why. If I can help somebody, then I want to try. People may think that it's odd that I believe in friendship and love. And truth is always the best way to the world that may seem odd. I'm an odd fellow. I'm an odd fellow. Whoa, whoa. I'm an odd fellow. If we stand together, we'll never fall. We can make a difference and answer the call. You know the times are wasting every day, and we can help somebody along the way. People may think that it's odd that I believe in friendship and love. Truth is always the best way to the world that may seem odd. I'm an odd fellow. You're an